हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम शिवाय। कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी चारिणे विशेष वाचालम पंगुम लंघयते गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुं नितारणं परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्येश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. We are discussing chapter 2 of the ninth canto today. This chapter is entitled Descendants of Manu. Of course, dynasties of the sons of Manu. So the Manu that we are talking about is in this particular chapter is the current Manu. Vaivasvata, whose given name is Shraddha Deva, but because he is the son of Vivasvan, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanam Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha. Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. In the beginning, Krishna says to Arjuna, the Bhagavad Gita, I gave, 4th chapter, he says, this knowledge to Vivasvan, the sun god. Sun god gave to Manu. Who's Manu? His son. Who's Vaivasvat Manu? Whose name is Shraddha Deva. Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakavaya Bruvit. And Manu gave to his son Ikshvaku. So we are currently discussing in this canto mainly the descendants of Vaivasvat Manu. So this canto is focused on the details of the current Manvantara's Manu's descendants, various prominent personalities and their various generations. We started the ninth canto by discussion of the first chapter of the ninth canto, which was dedicated to the first son of Vaivasvat Manu and his wife. That was a very interesting story. If you remember the story of Sudyumna, very interesting. I will not go into the details, but he went through. In today's time, people imagine their gender has changed, and they change from him, her to him to her and it and they and whatever pronouns that they change based on their imagination. But this was actually a gender change that happened because of various reasons. This was a very, very, very interesting episode. How Shraddha Dev wanted a son, but then he got a daughter, and then Vasishta Muni helped, he became a boy, then he went to Lord Shiva's garden, and then he became a woman, and so on and so forth. And then finally, 1 month woman, 1 month man. Huh? You can just imagine what kind of a life Sudyumna must have had. Huh? As they call in today's time, identity crisis. Who am I? I mean, even at a psychophysical level. I mean, spiritual question is one issue, but sometimes a person has a identity issue, huh? Even at the psychophysical level. Who am I? What do I consider myself? So continuous toggling. And his end state in that particular life was 1 month man, 1 month woman. So neither was he happy, nor was Vashishta fully happy, nor was his kingdom happy. So that is the nature of material life. Very difficult to make everyone happy. And even if you are born, even if you are the son of Manu, Vaivasvata Manu, doesn't mean that you will have a smooth life. So the smooth life myth is busted across the pages of our Shastra. Looks like nobody has had a smooth life, neither Lord Brahma nor any of these devatas. We have been discussing so much about Indra Dev, self going through so many crises. We went through in the 8th canto the beautiful pastime of Samudra Manthan, so many crises after crisis after crisis, challenges, and you get and you lose, and then you again struggle, then you get, you lose. Oof. And then we think, oh, actually, my life isn't as turbulent. I have a stable job, I have a stable family. Maybe we don't have the sukh of Indraraj. So turbulent. Anyway, so material happiness is always relative. That is why material happiness is all about how the living entity interprets the situation and circumstances. So we discussed 9.1, Sudyumna's story. The conclusion of that particular pastime was eventually Sudyumna. He had actually 3 sons, Utkala, Gaya, and Vimala, and they became kings of the southern part of India. And it is said when Sudyumna became old, he gave his entire kingdom to his son Pururava and returned to the forest. And he attained perfection in due course. The story then switches to the other sons of Vaivasvat Manvantara. One of his descendants of King Sudyumna, especially the son Pururava, that story has not yet been told. It is in this canto, it is mentioned a little later. But right now, the focus of the discussion, what Shukdev Goswami is narrating to Parikshit Maharaj, is who are these 10 sons and giving a broad outline. Because we should understand that most of the dynasties which are coming, and even today, which are running, many of, maybe some of us, maybe some of our friends and relatives and acquaintances, they are coming down in these dynasties because this is from our Manvantara. This story, this pastime, these personalities are from our Manvantara. So Shukadev Goswami is continuing to narrate the descendants of Vaivasvata Manu. So Sudyumna was the first progeny. After this whole thing happened with Sudyumna, our Vaivasvat Manu, Shraddhadev, was thinking, Arey, this didn't work out very well. I must have more sons because my seva as Manu is to produce a right progeny. So it is said after Sudyumna took requirement and went into the forest, Vaivasvat Manu, he started performing austerities with the desire to get qualified sons. It is said he spent 100 years on the bank of the Yamuna performing austerities. 100 years performing austerities. And he worshipped the Supreme Lord. And as a result of his 100 years of tapasya, it is said he was blessed with 10 sons who are all as good as himself. And out of these 10 sons, Ikshvaku was the eldest. And now Ikshvaku's name we have all heard. The name of Ikshvaku is most prominently comes to our mind in the context of Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramchandra is in the Ikshvaku Vamsha. In fact, that is the reason in this chapter, in this canto, in the subsequent chapters, a little later, the pastimes of Sri Ramachandra Bhagavan will appear as one of the descendants of Ikshvaku. This particular chapter doesn't go into the details of the descendants of Ikshvaku. What it focuses on, I will come shortly. So he had 10 sons. So who are the 10 sons? The name of the 10 sons are mentioned as Ikshvaku, Nriga, Saryati, Dishta, Dhrishta, Karushaka, Narishanta, Prishadra, Nabhaga, and Kavi. So just to give an idea, in this particular chapter, out of these 10, the activities of 6 of them are being described out of the 10. So you'll say, Prabhu, why only 6? Why the other 4 were not qualified? No, nothing like that. The other 4 are discussed in subsequent chapters. So this chapter describes 6 of them because there's not a lot to speak, but a basic summary of 6 of them is given. Who are these 6 who are spoken about here in this particular chapter? Prashadra, first, Dishta, Dhrishta, Karushaka, Narishyanta, and Kavi. Out of these 6 sons who have been spoken about in this chapter, I'm giving you an overview of the chapter first. Out of the 10 sons, 6 have been spoken about. Out of these 6 sons, 2 of them did not have children. Who are these 2? Prishadra and Kavi. Why they didn't have children? That story we will come to in a few minutes. The other 4, who are they? Dishta, Drishta, Karushaka, and Narishanta. They had descendants, and their descendants have been briefly described. This chapter is basically a genealogical chapter. What does that mean? It is basically enumerating the descendants of these 10 children. Of course, in this case, 4 children. A few short stories are mentioned here and there, which I will share with you. But by and large, this chapter, which is, how many verses is this? Around 36 verses, is basically focused on a genealogical description. So first narration in this particular chapter, out of the 10 sons, first narration starts with the son Prishadra. So it's a very interesting story about King Prishadra. It is said when King Prishadra, he was not yet married at that time. He was, I'm assuming he was, it's not mentioned whether he was in the ashram or he was a brahmachari. It is said his spiritual master, Prishadra's guru, had instructed him that to protect the cows. So in olden times, the ashramas would be either in the forest or close to the forest, and they would have so many cows. And there was so much forested areas that it was not very uncommon to have wild animals roaming around at night and attacking the cows and the bulls who are in the cowshed. So he was given the seva by spiritual master. You stand guard at night and protect the cows. Very obediently, Maharaj Prashadra, holding a sword, he was protecting the cows all night. One night, it so happened, actually it was raining very heavily. At that time, so raining very heavily means visibility becomes affected. Already night, visibility being affected. It is said a tiger entered that ashram area and attacked the cows. As soon as the tiger attacked, the cows were, probably many of them were resting at the time. They got up and they started running helter skelter here and there, scattering huge commotion. This tiger in that commotion managed to grip on one particular cow. She was screaming in distress and fear, and Maharaj Prishadra, who was holding a sword, he was struggling. It was night time. And because it was raining, it was already visibility was low. On top of that, it was cloudy because of the rain. Even the stars and the moon were covered. He could barely see. Based on the sound, he rushed in the direction of where that sound was coming of the distress of the cow. And as the cow and the tiger were in this tussle with each other, where the cow was trying to escape free and the tiger was struggling to keep his stranglehold, Maharaj Prishadra made a mistake. He mistook the cow with the tiger, and taking a sword in hand with the intention of killing the tiger, he actually ended up beheading the cow. In the process, 1 year of the tiger also got cut off. The tiger in panic finally fled from there. So the tiger didn't do anything either to Maharaj Prishadra or to the other cows. But in fact, Maharaj Prishadra did not even realize that this had happened because the tiger ran away. Next day morning, when he went to the scene and saw what had happened, he realized that, oh God, I wanted to subdue the enemy, but what did I end up doing? I ended up killing a cow. He literally beheaded the cow because he hit the sword with such great impact. The family Purohit, the great sage Vashishta, when he came to know about what had happened, even though it was purely accidental, Vashishta Muni was very upset. No, you have killed a cow. How could you do this? How you were not careful? You shouldn't have done this. You should have. And Maharaj and Vashishta Muni cursed Prishadra that you don't deserve to be a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means Kshatratrayate iti Kshatriya. He who protects others from getting hurt is a Kshatriya. You ended up killing a cow. So I curse you. Next life you will not be a Kshatriya. You become a Shudra in your next life. Because of this killing a cow. That's the nature of the matter. But you see how our karma comes back. Of course, why he had to go through is not explained here. But obviously, he must have done something which brought this circumstance on him, that he was dragged into situations which brought a curse. But the wonderful thing about Maharaj Prishadra is, even though, see what happens is, when we make mistakes and we are punished, that is one thing. And sometimes in all good intention we do something, but beyond our control something wrong happens. We expect everyone else to understand. I did my best with all good intentions. Somehow, for reasons beyond my control. In this case, rather than accommodating him, he got cursed. Correct? There are so many examples in the Bhagavad. Even Maharaj Chitraketu, right? Parvati Devi cursed him. His intention was not to hurt or insult Lord Shiva. The wonderful thing about Maharaj Prishadra, and that is why it is mentioned in the pages of the Bhagavad, was that he did not retaliate, he did not complain and say, oh, Guru Maharaj, you don't understand. Just Tattenu Kampam Susamikshamano. You are a great saintly person. You are a Brahma Rishi. If you have cursed me like this, must be for my good. Because Vashishta Muni is not an ordinary person. So he accepted the curse with folded hands, the Bhagavatam says. And after that, he decided, now what is there? I am already been cursed. I am going to become a Shudra. There's no point now, trying to get married, be a king, rule a kingdom. Because he was already so spiritually evolved, he said, let me just dedicate my life to the service of Lord Hari. So he practically immediately packed up. He controlled his senses. He took the vows of brahmacharya, and giving up all material responsibilities, being peaceful in mind. He just lived a very austere life, fully devoted to absorption in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He only ate and drank only as much as needed to keep body and soul together, being equal to everyone, being non-covetous, being detached, free from all material contamination, fully satisfied in realization of his self and his relationship with the Supreme Lord, always focusing his mind on the Lord. This is perfection, right? Ultimately, what all yoga is for. Krishna summarizes all yoga at the end of Bhagavad Gita. It's all about fixing your mind on me. Always think of me, become my devotee, offer your obeisances to me. Become my devotee. You will come to me without fail. So, in this absorbed state of consciousness with all detachment to matter, being situated in pure devotional service, started traveling all over the world unaffected. He was like so withdrawn from the world, he would practically act as if he's deaf and dumb and blind, like what Bharat Maharaj was doing at one point. Completely withdrawn from the world. And he was in such a high state of consciousness, fully absorbed in transcendence. He ended up becoming a great saint. He was born a Kshatriya, but he ended up becoming a great saint. But the curse of Vasishtha was still there. But no material curse can bind one who has become very advanced in spiritual consciousness. A very interesting thing happened. It is said one day Maharaj Prishadra was already in the state of perfection in spiritual consciousness. He was walking here and there, going from place to place, from holy place to holy place and roaming around. He came to a forest. He happened to see that in the forest there was a blazing forest fire. Seeing that there was a blazing forest fire, thought, anyway, this whole material body has no purpose. Whatever I had to attain and do in this material body, I have done. Voluntarily entered the forest fire, give up his body and liberate himself. It is said he attained the spiritual world, having relinquished his material body willingly. Very interesting. What does that mean? That means he did not become a Shudra in his next life. Even though he was cursed by Vasishtha Muni, because that curse is still a material curse, because of his attaining pure devotional service, becoming liberated from the modes of material nature, he became free from all karma, which includes all curses. Curse is also like a lingering karma, right? Which is supposed to hit. Navam karmani limpati namai karma phale spruha yomam evam vaijanati karma bhir nasabadhyate. I am never affected by any karma. Nor do I seek the fruits of any activities. He who knows this about me also is never affected by karma. Some people foolishly think that, oh, Krishna did this, that's why he had to suffer this. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita clearly, karma doesn't apply to me. And he who understands in truth that karma doesn't apply to me also becomes free from karma. So through sheer transcendental knowledge, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the fire of transcendental knowledge burns away all ignorance and karma. Jnanagni dagda karmanam. Krishna uses this phrase in the Bhagavad Gita. Jnanagni dagda karmanam. So even though there was a curse to become a Shudra in the next life, by virtue of his spiritual advancement, all that karma was burnt away and he didn't even have to take another life he attained the supreme. So this is a very interesting point to note, that no matter what our karma is, if we take shelter of the Lord and especially of the process of bhakti, one can counteract all kinds of karma. So that was the story of Prishadra. So Prishadra was one son. Because of this curse, he took brahmacharya, he didn't get married, eventually attained perfection, went back to Godhead. So no sons, no progeny. Great soul, wonderful. One son of Vaivasvata Manu went back to Godhead. Then there was another son. So initially the childless sons are described in this canto. So the other son whose story is described is Kavi, the second out of the 10 sons. Not second in terms of in his age. This narration is not in the sequence of age. The eldest was Ikshvaku actually. The story has not even started. But the next described is Maharaj Kavi. In fact, Kavi was the youngest of the 10 sons. But why his story is mentioned, very briefly it is mentioned, that Kavi, I don't know whether he was inspired by Prishadra's pastime or not, but he was so detached from material enjoyment, the Bhagavatam says. I don't want to get involved in all this mess. In olden times, they were there, there were some children of kings and Brahmanas who just say, they can see it so clearly because their vision, their spiritual vision, because of evolved spiritual consciousness from many lifetimes, is so clear that they can see the futility of material existence. Actually, he who can see the futility of material existence very clearly, unless there is a very specific purpose he has to serve, that Guru or Krishna have indicated to them or asked them of, they are generally uninterested. They think, what should I? What is there to be achieved here? Why should I get into this mess and for what? For what gain? There is no gain, I can see. Krishna says this very beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very beautiful verse where Krishna says that they know Adyavanta Kaunteya Nateshu Ramate Buddha. All this material enjoyment has a beginning as an end. In fact, material sense gratification is the source of suffering. It is not the source of enjoyment. It is advertised as enjoyment, but actually it is suffering. Maya advertises material enjoyment. When one comes to enjoy, there is little enjoyment just to trap. There is so much of encumbrances that Maya gives for all kinds of enjoyment. It's a vast topic by itself. We have discussed it multiple times, so I'll not go into that. So Kavi, the son Kavi was of that category. Mere baki bhaiyon ko, let my other brothers do their Rajpat. I don't want to get into this marriage and becoming king and ruling into the kingdom and all that. Even before he attained youth, he went to the forest. I am going, I am renouncing, I have no interest in all this. He went to the forest, absorbed himself in thinking of the Lord, attained the supreme destination. He also went back to Godhead. Shadra went back to Godhead, Kavi went back to Godhead. Sudyumna had already gone back to, I mean, this is very high success rate for Vaivasvata Manu. This is the perfection of giving birth to children. What is the perfection of giving birth to children? To deliver them from the cycle of birth and death. Who is a successful parent? According to Bhagavatam standards, not according to what your grandfather says or what your neighbor says. Nowadays, people's dream is, my son should become a startup founder and set up a unicorn and become a billionaire. Maharaj Kavi and Sudyumna and others, Prashadra, they were not interested in all this. They had ready kingdom. They didn't have to set up a startup and become a billionaire by setting up a unicorn. Work day and night hard and do all kinds of things. Ready made kingdom. Why? Manu's son, can you imagine? Whole Manvantar, they can rule in whatever areas they have been given. Their realization, their clarity in terms of utility of material existence. Krishna says this very beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu darshanam. Who are those who are advanced in spiritual consciousness? Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. They can clearly see the faults of material life. What are the faults of material life? Four big faults. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. Work so hard for. I mean, this is what they think. Maybe some of us are not yet at that level of consciousness. Some are, I don't know. Or some know theoretically but are not yet that realized. That is the test of spiritual determination. Only when one really becomes convinced, like these great personalities. Sudyumna Maharaj had to go through lots of ups and downs, male, female, until he said, I give up all this. But Prishadra and Kavi were like, Chodo yaar, I am clear. This is not the way to go. So how soon we come to the conclusion that material life cannot be enjoyed? Some have to go through a lot of battering. So sometimes if you are wondering, Prabhu, when will I get that realization? There are two ways to get that realization. Either we regularly chant and read Bhagavatam and understand through the lives of great souls, or Krishna says, I have alternative plan. So let us take the easy way out, because the alternative plans can be pretty heavy. Anyway, that was a side diversion. So Kavi and Prashadra's stories have been described. Now we come to the four sons about whom they had descendants. They married and they had descendants. So there is a brief description of them. So most of the stories in this chapter are done. Now it is lot of list of names. Okay, so please bear with me. It is purifying nonetheless to hear because this is Bhagavatam. So it is said, Karusha, he became a king, and from his dynasty came many Kshatriyas. And these Kshatriyas, they ruled the north of India, and they were very devout to protect the Brahminical culture. Very, very religious. And they are famous as the Karusha dynasty. So maybe there are many other famous kings in the dynasty. Right now, here, their names are not mentioned. There's a very brief reference of Karusha. Then the other son, Drishta. It is said, just like from Karusha came the Karusha dynasty, from Drishta came the Dharshta dynasty. The interesting thing about the Dharshta dynasty was, unlike the Karusha dynasty where they were all great Kshatriyas, even though Drishta was a great Kshatriya, his descendants became Brahmanas. Very interesting. So there are many instances in scripture where it clearly establishes that the Varnas are based on Guna Karma, not just based on birth. Shwamitra was born Kshatriya but eventually became a Brahmana. So the descendants of Drishta, they all achieved the position of Brahmana. That is why Prabhupada also, even in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, says, and Shastra, he quotes Shastra, Janmana jayate shudro samskarat bhavati dvija veda pathat bhavati vipro brahma janati iti brahman. Who's Brahman? Brahma janati. He who knows the science of the absolute truth is a Brahman. Those who know the science of the truth, know means not that they can just repeat on a podcast very nicely so that there are a lot of views. There are a lot of spiritual teachers on the internet nowadays. And I'm not disrespecting anyone or commenting on anyone in particular, but doesn't mean just because you can speak a lot of wisdom that you necessarily have that speech backed up by transcendental realization and insight. Correct? I mean, many times when I speak also, many times I reflect on myself. I try to avoid speaking very high things because, I don't want to speak things which are too high from what I can relate to. Because then it becomes very artificial. Of course, we have to be honest. If you only speak what we have fully realized, then we can barely speak anything. But we have to be honest. So, Brahmajanati Brahman. So one can become a Brahmana by developing the mode of goodness, being situated in transcendental knowledge, performing the activities of a Brahmana, karma and guna. What are the activities of a Brahmana? Yajan, Yajan, Patan, Pathan, Dana, Pratigraha. Anyway, we'll not go to that topic, but these are the 6 duties of the Brahmanas. Yajan, Yajan, Patan, Pathan, Dana, Pratigraha. So the lesson here is that one becomes a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya by one's quality and not by one's birth. Krishna also confirms this in 4.13. Discuss that also. Guna karma, chatur varanyam maya srishta, guna karma vibhagasha. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, guna karma vibhagasha. He doesn't say janma vibhagasha. Karma vibhagasha. Also, Narad Muni in the 7th Canto, 11th chapter, verse 35, also speaks the same point that one is divided into varnas based on one's qualities and activities. Anyway, so that's a brief comment. So, briefly mentioned the dynasties of Karusha and Drishta. Karusha gave Karusha dynasty of Kshatriyas, and Drishta gave the Dharshta dynasty of Brahmanas. Now, King Nriga has his own dynasty. Now, King Nriga has an interesting story by itself, but we'll not go into that now, because that is not the subject matter of the discussion in this particular chapter. That story will come in the 10th canto. Maharaj Nriga, this story. Anyway, that's a different story. But in the Nriga dynasty, he had a daughter known as Sumati. From Sumati, the sons were Bhuta Jyoti. From Bhuta Jyoti came a son called Vasu. So these are all different descendants mentioned. So I will just quickly recall what is mentioned in the Bhagavatam pages for our purification. Vriga, then Sumati, then Bhuta Jyoti, from there Vasu, Pratika, Oghavan. So Oghavan had a son by the same name, whose also name was Oghavan, and Oghavan gave birth to a daughter whose name was Oghavati, who married Sudarshan. Not very clear who this Sudarshan is, but that was the name of the person. This is not the Sudarshan Chakra, obviously. So that's the dynasty of Driga. That is what is briefly mentioned. Then another son, Narishanta, his dynasty is mentioned. From Narishanta, Chitrasena, Riksha, Midhvana, Purna, Indrasena, Vitihotra, Satyashrava, Purushrava, Devadatta. From Devadatta, Agni Veshya, the fire god Agni came. And from Agni Veshya, a Brahmanical dynasty known as Agni Veshyayana got created. So again, another example of from a Kshatriya, how a Brahmana dynasty. Then the dynasty of Dishta is mentioned. Dishta had a son Nabhaga. Then from there, Bhalandana, Vatsapriti, Pramshu, Pramati, these are all generation after generation. Khanitra, Chakshusha, Vimsati, Rambha, Khaninetra, Karandhama, Avikshita, and Marutta. These are all various descendants. A brief mention is made about Marutta. Marutta was a great king in that particular dynasty coming down from Dishta, one of the sons of Vaivasvata Manu. Vaivasvata Manu. It is mentioned this Marutta performed a very wonderful Ashwamedha Yajna. Why it is mentioned, like, was it last year? The marriage in the Ambani family for weeks and weeks and weeks. all in the news was the Ambani's wedding. Correct? Who was there? I mean, ISKCON leadership was also there. And they did it very nicely. I'm not saying in a critical way, because one can judge that various ways, but I'm not saying in any critical way. They did a lot of religious ceremonies. They did very nice. But of course, many people have various different opinions. But the point what I'm trying to say is that that kind of a ceremony is remembered by all people for all times to come, right? For a long, long time at least. Oh, Ambani ka shadi. So if somebody is spending lavishly, oh, it's Ambani ka shadi. So why Marutta sacrifice is being mentioned here? Because his sacrifice was so lavish. In today's time, people spend massive money on marriages. In olden times, they would do massive religious ceremonies. So even if somebody wanted to increase his reputation, he wouldn't show his wealth by doing big marriage ceremonies. Maybe it was there for some kings and others, but they would especially do big yajnas. They would spend religiously very nicely. So this Maruttas, it is said, it was such an opulent yajna. It is said each and every paraphernalia used in that yajna was made of gold. So much somras was being distributed. It is said Indra was drinking and drinking and drinking somras. He became tipsy by drinking somras. Brahmanas received lot of amount of charity, remuneration, dan. Because Brahmanas don't charge fees. Brahmanas don't say, oh, you want yajna? This is my fees, 1,001 ringgit. Please transfer it first, then only I will buy paraphernalia and come. I mean, I'm talking about olden times. They'll just come, whatever the Yajman gives, you have to quietly accept. That is Brahman. Then only you are Brahman. According to the traditional way. Many will argue, Prabhu, today not possible. That's a different discussion. But the expectation is this. Brahmana doesn't charge. He accepts whatever is given to him as donation. He doesn't charge even for giving education. Anybody can come to a Brahmana and learn. You give dakshina to the Guru. Accepts dakshina. Brahmana is maintained by society and through dakshina. For whoever he teaches, for whoever he becomes a purohit, whoever he becomes a ritvik for the yajnas. So it is said, the who's who, the Vishwa Devas were there sitting in the assembly. So it was like massive, big, famous ceremony. So it is so famous that Bhagavatam mentions especially. Marutta performed, that top class yajna. So super excellent in terms of opulence that it has been recorded. So that is a brief mention. Marutta's dynasty is then mentioned. From Marutta came Dama, from Dama Rajyavardhan, Sudhriti, Nara, Kevala, Dhunduman, Vegavan, Buddha, and Trinabindu. This Trinabindu, a bit is mentioned about this son Trinabindu who comes down in the dynasty of Marutta, who is in the dynasty of Dishta. This Trinabindu married a very beautiful, very qualified Apsara by the name of Alambusha. I don't know anything about her, but Bhagavatam says very qualified Apsara. And through this Apsara, they had 3 sons, Vishala, Shunyabandhu, and Dhrumaketu. And also one daughter known as Ilavila. The interesting thing about this daughter Ilavila, which is noteworthy, is it is Ilavila who married Vishrava. Anyone knows who is Vishrava? Sage Vishrava? Anyone?
Ravan's father?
Yes. Ravan's father also became very famous. Vishrava. The father, not just of Ravan, the father of Kuvera also, because Kuvera and Ravan are brothers.
Oh, that was not aware, bro. Thank you.
You didn't know? Okay. So Vishrava also gave birth to Kuvera.
Okay.
So in this chapter, in this canto, Kuvera is mentioned. Ravana is not mentioned, but I'm just letting you know also, because Ravana's also this Ilvila, who's in the dynasty of Marutta, who's in the dynasty of Dishta, married the sage Vishrava and gave birth to Kuvera. So that is mentioned. And then this other son, so there were 3 sons and 1 daughter. Daughter was Ilvila, who gave birth to Kuvera after marrying Vishrava. The eldest son, whose name is Vishala, in his dynasty, this Vishala is famous for establishing the city of Vaishali. Have you heard the city of Vaishali in Bihar? That was established by this king Vishal. Vishal city is Vaishali. Okay, very interesting. From Vishala came Hemachandra, Dhumaraksha, Samyama, Devaraj and Krishashva, and Somadatta. And then from Somadatta, Sumati, and then Janamejaya. There's a brief mention about something about Somadatta. It is said Somadatta also was famous for performing yajnas. Especially he performed Ashwamedha sacrifices. And he did it with such great devotion to Lord Vishnu. Because he was not a pure devotee, even though he pleased Lord Vishnu, he attained the higher realms. He attained the higher realms of the mystics. Not materialistic heaven, but higher realms of the mystics. Probably Janar Mahar, Taparloka, it's not mentioned very explicitly, but he attained the higher realms. So in this way, this chapter comes to an end. So this chapter has given an overview of the 10 sons, very quick recap of the 10 sons of Vaivasvata Manu. One son of Vaivasvata Manu, Sudyumna, was already there. His story already we covered in the first chapter. Another 10, after he did another 100 years of tapasya on the banks of Yamuna, 10 sons. Out of the 10 sons, 2 went back to Godhead without getting married. And out of the remaining 8, 4 have been discussed herein, and their dynasties have been discussed. Drishta, Karusha, Drishta, Driga, Narishanta. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this chapter, and also Dishta, by the way, sorry. Dishta also. Dishta and Drishta. Karushaka, Narishanta, Prashadra. So, whom we have not discussed? We have not discussed in detail about Ikshvaku. Nriga we have discussed. Narishanta we have discussed. We have not discussed in detail about Nabhaga. That will also come in subsequent chapters. Saryati also we haven't discussed. Okay. So I'm opening up the floor. If there are any questions or comments. Yes, Tarun Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I have a question not associated to today's class, but what we were discussing in the morning. So should
You can
I?
ask, so everyone knows.
Okay. So, Prabhuji, this is a question for the gopis. So,
For the gopis, or the question is to me, or about the gopis?
yeah, about the gopis, sorry. So, actually, गोपी जैसे आपने बताया था कि पिछले जन्म में बहुत लर्नड सेजेस रहे थे, बट इस जन्म में वो गोपी का अवतार लिए थे, एंड उन्होंने हमेशा कृष्णा को अपने बेटे के रूप में, अपने सखा
English,
के रूप.
because some will not
Okay,
understand.
sure. So I will try. Yeah. So gopi were the learned sage in the past life, but gopis in the present scenario, means when the Dwapar Yuga, when Krishna was there, they were always loved Krishna as their boy, as their friend, as their Pritam, and they always loved as a material way, means he is mine, I am his, he is mine. Always that kind of relation. And after, based on that, they achieve the higher perfection of the love, means which nobody even get today. But if we go on the similar way, means if I love my son, he is my son, I, he's a part and parcel of Krishna. By God grace and by your grace, we came to know we are a parcel of Krishna and Krishnadasa. So if I love in that way, I feel bound because then I'm bounding myself in this material world. The attachment increases. While the gopis, when doing the same activity with the material level, they receive the higher realm. So
Hmm.
what is the difference between their love and our love?
The
We are
difference
also
is that
saying
your son is not the supreme personality of Godhead.
right, but at the time, same time, Prabhu, the gopis are also not aware of they are loving
Doesn't
the
matter.
supreme personality of Godhead.
Doesn't matter. So that's the point. So anyway, there are quite a few points which you mentioned are not fully correct.
Okay,
Let me align that first.
sure.
There is partial truth, not that they are fully wrong. First thing is not all the gopis were sages. So
Okay.
there are many categories of gopis.
Mm-hmm.
Out of them, one category is Munichari.
Okay.
So there were some of the gopis who were previously sages.
Okay.
So majority of the gopis are coming directly from the spiritual world, the Ashtasakis and the close group.
Mm-hmm.
They are all eternal residents of the spiritual world. They are not sages. They have just come down to perform lila. There were some. So there is an example of some were sages. Some of them in Ramayana time they saw Ramchandra. They got so attracted to Ramchandra and they say, "Oh, we want to experience Madhurya Ras with you." So he said, "Madhurya Ras, this life, this particular avatar, only one wife. I cannot reciprocate conjugal feelings with anyone else. But I have full license, which I have given to myself in my original form as Krishna. So you come there, then I will." So the Lord reciprocated with them like that because Ram and Krishna are ultimately the same personality, different forms of the same. So then they became gopis and they got the opportunity to approach Krishna. So some of the a vast number of gopis are 100% perfected, liberated souls from the spiritual world. Some of them are perfected from the material world. Some of them are very advanced sages who are almost close to perfection. So there are various categories. Okay, so that's one point to understand. Okay, the other point to understand is that Krishna is so great because Krishna is all pure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who connects with Krishna in whatever way will get purified. The example is given of fire or the sun. The sun is so purifying, even if anything impure comes in contact with the sun, it becomes purified. One example is given in the Shastra. Even if there is urine in a place, when sunlight falls on that place, very soon that place will get disinfected because of association with sunshine, as an example. Or fire. Doesn't matter whether you understand fire is fire or you don't understand fire is hot, think it is cold. It doesn't matter what you think. You touch fire, you will get burnt because that's the property of fire. Understand? A small child goes and touches fire. Oh, no, it looks so nice. It doesn't even know this will burn me. This is hot. Touches will get burnt because each substance has its original nature. So when you come in contact, that substance will exhibit its nature and affect us in that particular way, whether we know or we don't know. Okay, are you with me so far?
Yes.
Because Krishna is all pure. Doesn't matter how one gets contact with Krishna, one will get purified.
Oh.
Okay, whether one knows that person is Krishna or not also doesn't matter. Okay, let's say if your son was Krishna and you had no idea he's Krishna, it doesn't matter whether you know or you not know. Just by loving him and being in contact with him, you will attain perfection. That is because that person is Krishna. That is Krishna's quality. Huh? And this I'm not talking based on my own opinion. Huh? This I'll quote the Bhagavatam because Bhagavatam gives his explanation. Narad Muni gives his explanation. And Narad Muni, the seventh canto, we discussed this some time ago. Many persons, Narad Muni is telling Yudhishthir Maharaj in the assembly of Rajasuya Yajna, out of Mahabharata, when Yudhishthir Maharaj performed. Says many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna. When he says thinking of Krishna means not even necessarily knowing Krishna is God, simply by thinking of Krishna in whatever way. They thought about him with great attention. Huh? That is why sometimes they thought of him with lusty desires. Some individuals thought of the Lord with lusty desires, intensely. Some thought of him as an enemy very intensely. Ye Krishna isko marna chahiye. Intensely they thought, Krishna is my enemy, how will I kill him? But they thought of Krishna. Huh? Some out of fear, some out of envy, some out of affection. Narad Muni says, whoever concentrates his mind on Krishna will become purified and receive Krishna's mercy. This is Krishna's quality. And he gives an example. My dear King Yudhishthir, I will read this shloka to you. It's a very sweet shloka. Read the shloka as well. Gopyaha kamad, the gopis out of lust. Bhayat kamsa out of fear. Means they got purified. Dveshad, chaidya adayah. Chaidya here refers to Shishupal, the son of Chedi. So Chaidya, the Chedi king's son, Chaidya adayah. Others, Shishupal and others out of envy. So envious. Shishupal was thinking of Krishna with envy 24/7. You can't think of Krishna so much in devotion. He was thinking overdrive of envy. But he attained perfection. Why? Because it was directed towards Krishna. He was fortunate. It was directed towards Krishna. Not that it is good to be envious of Krishna, but if whatever feeling, if it is with great intensity focused on Krishna, the Krishna substance will take effect. If you understand what I mean. Doesn't matter. Sambandhat Vrishnayaha. The Vrishnis, his relatives, the Yadus, because of their relationship, they are always thinking of Krishna. Yuyam Snehat. You, the Pandavas, because of your affection to Krishna, you're always thinking. So you're also purified. And people like us, Narad Muni is saying out of humility. Bhaktya Vayam. Because we cultivate attention to Krishna through the process of bhakti, we practice focusing on Krishna, we develop our devotional service. That's how we got pure. We also can get purified. That is why Rupa Goswami says, not in the Bhagavatam, but he says, Yena kena prakarena manha Krishne niveshat. Somehow or the other, focus your mind on Krishna. Of course, because we are consciously focusing, we don't want to focus out of envy and greed and any negative things. Because eventually that negative will get transformed to positive. But when we know that the objective is positive, why should we start with the negative? So we are trying to cultivate attraction for Krishna by focusing on remembering Krishna always through hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So those gopis who had any little material attraction left because of the feelings of intense separation from Krishna by being extremely absorbed in Krishna, all the little remnants of material tendencies got burnt and they attained the perfection. Okay. So to attain perfection, it is not necessary to know Krishna is God. That feeling of intense. So those who are devotees of the Lord, they have an intense mamata for the Lord. Mamata. Correct? Mamata.
Yes, yes.
Mamata means this person is mine.
Yeah.
Is my child. Yashoda is thinking. Sudama is saying, hey, he's my friend. Why he's not coming? Why he's not playing with me? Hey, Kana, hey, come here, come here. But they are, I mean, it's out of love. They are not disrespecting, but they have
Yes,
so
yes.
close relationship. Huh? So for the gopis, for Nanda Yashoda, at one time there was a big conference in Braj. Hey, there's so many demons are getting killed. You know, I heard this sage told, that sage told, Krishna is God. Everyone is saying, oh, Krishna is God. Huh? Krishna is God. But no matter what was there for them, because their affection for Krishna, because of their mamata with Krishna, their relationship with Krishna is so sweet and intimate that for them, that relationship with Krishna is more important than Krishna being God. You understand? Correct? Huh? So for Mother Yashoda, how it is, even if somebody tells, first of all, she'll not believe, but even for a moment, she believes Krishna is God. What Mother Yashoda will think? Oh, you know, my little Kana is also God. My Kana is God. But don't think just because you're God, I'll not punish you. If I'm going to punish. So she's not going to give up her nature of affection and love. For him, for her, Krishna is the son first. You are God outside the house. In here, you are my son. You better listen to me. Huh? That's her affection. So for them, Krishna being God is secondary. Because their relationship with Krishna is driven because of their intense affection for Krishna. They are not attracted to God based on the power of God. What we are all attracted to, oh God, He can give me this, He can give me liberation, He's the controller. They are not attracted to Krishna because of that. They are just attracted to the madhurata of Krishna, the
Mm.
beauty of Krishna, the spiritual qualities of Krishna, His beautiful pastimes, His smile, His activities. Their hearts are charmed by Him. And that is a higher level of attraction because that attraction will remain. Attraction which is just based on knowing the greatness of God is not as deeply connected and stable as that which is based on affectionate attraction. You agree? Correct?
Agreed. Agreed.
Huh? For example, even in this world, right? If we have affection for someone, especially a lover beloved relationship, one doesn't have to practice remembering. Does one have to practice remembering? No. Automatically, because of affection, the always that person will be in the mind. So all these great devotees, especially the Vrajvasis, in whose footsteps we want to follow, we were discussing just on Tuesday about Raganuga Bhakti. This is what Raganuga Bhakti is about. This my Krishna, I want to serve him like this. I want to serve him as a son, as my son. I want to serve him as my friend. I want to serve as a gopi in Madhurya Ras. I just want to please him. He's so wonderful. He's just so sweet. He's so nice, so wonderful. Oh, and he's also God, and that's okay. That's nice. My friend is God. Yeah, yeah. Krishna. Good, good. And just like, sometimes our son, oh, he stood first in university. My son. But he's my son. Even if he had failed, he's still my son. I love him equally. So whether Krishna is God or not is not really such a big deal for Brajvasis. But for us, the key point to learn is whatever way one can fix. So we are discussing on Tuesday about sadhana bhakti, right? Whole Chaitanya. Our whole idea of sadhana bhakti is through the process of sadhana. We focus our mind on Krishna, focus our mind on Krishna, chant the holy name, discuss Bhagavatam, associate with devotees, worship the Lord, eat prasad. In that way, we awaken our bhava for Krishna. If we awaken that bhava through the blessings and association of those who have Braja Bhakti, then we will develop this kind of mamata for Krishna, that Krishna is mine. This Krishna is mine is not a material sentiment. It is not a sense of material possession. And this is mine, I'll not give to you. Not in that very material sense. But they have such deep affection for them, nothing else matters. Okay. Did I answer your question, Prabhu? Any
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, here the one more point basically comes.
yeah.
Uh, in case that suppose you are you're feeding your son, okay, and you're feeding your son like that, you are feeding Krishna with that affection. So will that increase a foundation, or will that simply goes to God with that affection, or means what will
Yeah,
that be
it
then?
is transcendental, right? So that is why we say even accidental devotional service is purifying and will give rise to bhakti. If it is directed to Krishna, even with material motivation, if even envy will cause us to become purified, what to speak of lesser bad qualities like just material desire? That is why it is said, no? Akamo sarvakamo va moksha kam udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogina yajita purusham param. Even if you have material desires, worship Krishna. You have no material desires, then worship Krishna. You want to go to heaven, worship Krishna. You want to attain yogic siddhis, worship Krishna. If you have no desire, excellent, worship Krishna. If you have all desires, worship Krishna, so that first you will come to no desires and then you will have only desire for Krishna. You understand? That is the journey. So, in any state, so that is Krishna covers the whole spectrum. There is no one or no category of desire or destination that you say, oh, sorry. You don't have to think about Krishna. Anything you want, material, spiritual, liberation, you want to merge into Brahman also, you can worship. Krishna can fulfill everything.
Mm.
But the wonderful thing is when one approaches Krishna, one not only becomes purified first of material contamination, eventually Krishna, because he is Hari, he attracts our heart. Once he attracts our heart, we forget why we came to Krishna. All the other things we'll forget. And we'll be charmed by Krishna. So the day as devotees, our hearts become charmed by Krishna, we should consider ourselves very fortunate. You understand? Huh? Initially, we are Krishna, we want to go back to Godhead, we want to be free from cycle. Oh, that's good. That's a good starting point. But if we become fortunate, we are attracted to Krishna because who Krishna is, not because of his power and opulence. When we start developing that kind of a sentiment, that means we are actually becoming attracted to the personality of Godhead, to the opulence of
Mm.
Godhead.
True.
Such people Krishna wants to have a relationship with. If one is attracted to Krishna because what Krishna can do, what opulence he has, he controls everything, I mean, that's a good start. But those are not the people Krishna wants to have. I mean, Krishna is excited to have because they are not attracted to him. They are attracted to what he can do. You understand the difference, correct? Do you
Agreed.
like the rich man or do you like the richness of the man?
I like the richness, not the rich.
Uh, we may be currently in that state, but when we
Mhm.
start getting attracted
Mm.
Krishna, then slowly in our heart that Krishna is God starts becoming not so important. Not that it is not important, it is not our primary motivation to approach Krishna. You understand? So that is the transition we should be looking for as we go ahead. And that is the difference between Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Primarily, substantially, you understand? What is it that is driving you towards Krishna? Is it your
Mm.
attraction for Krishna in a particular way? Or is it that, oh, he's God, I have to worship him, then I will be free from cycle of birth and death, I will become maybe a starting point, but that's not our end goal. It's not our end game. Okay?
True.
Your long answer.
No, bro, it's very much insightful. Thank you, Prabhuji. Actually, I was having some doubt this morning, so I thought I should study more, but I thought I should wait for the
Yeah,
evening.
I wanted to give you a long answer. That's why I didn't answer you on chat.
That's okay.
Because this question is beneficial for everyone.
True.
So what I'm trying to say is, I mean, not I'm trying to say, what all the acharyas have said, I'm just trying to share. Huh? The point is all acharyas are telling us, doesn't matter what, somehow or the other connect people to Krishna. Doesn't matter what their motivation is. Huh? Don't be too excited when people have material desires. No, Prabhu, you have to give up all material desires, then you come to Krishna. No, don't wait for anything. Anyone can start connecting to Krishna at whatever level they are. Whatever level. Once a drunkard came to Prabhupada in ISKCON in the US, early days. Huh? Said, Prabhupada, I want Krishna, but I cannot give up drinking. So Prabhupada didn't tell him, oh, you cannot become devotee until this. Prabhupada told him a very simple formula. He told him, Krishna says, Rasoham apsu kaunteya, I am the taste of water. So every time you take a sip from your bottle, you contemplate that the taste of that drink, the liquidity, the taste of that alcohol is Krishna. That's all that Prabhupada told him. Prabhupada just added Krishna to his drinking. The idea was not to encourage his drinking. The idea was to add Krishna. Understand? Please don't start drinking, saying Prabhupada said this. Oh, Prabhu, very good instruction. Saturday evening, I'm immediately going after this. That's not the idea. The idea is, even if you are at a lower level, add to Krishna. And when he started doing this, very soon he gave up. And he became a very sincere devotee. Shelter of Prabhupada, I think he took initiation also. I don't know his name. But the point is, how when one connects Krishna, because Krishna is all purifying, gradually one will get purified. How soon one will get purified depends on the intensity with which we connect to Krishna. Okay? So what I'm saying is, even as we are preaching, we are sharing Krishna consciousness, whatever level one is, somehow, yena kena prakarena, we don't say somebody is eating non-veg, somebody is doing whatever they are doing. Not that we condone it, but they are not, nothing is a barrier to connect to Krishna. Come, you connect. We don't say very good, very good. We don't say you continue to do. We just say you add Krishna first. Other things will follow. Okay?
It's true.
Hari Bol, we have such a wonderful Lord. Lord Hari, who will attract our hearts eventually. So that is the good fortune we are looking for. When we regularly read and discuss the Bhagavatam in the association of devotees, regularly chant the holy name, regularly see the deities of Krishna, our heart, what we have been discussing, will be charmed by Krishna. Once your heart is charmed by Krishna, then it becomes very beautiful. Then we become very fortunate. Okay? Anantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta. I'll see you all on Tuesday. Hari Bol. Suraj, Shalini Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Pradyumna.
Prabhu, Virendra Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hari Mataji, Vinod Prabhu. Rita Mataji, Hari Bol. Anand Sundari
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Ankan, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, Sri Mataji, Hari Bol. Ah, Deepali, so nice to see you. Deepali is my dear sister. My mama's daughter. We have grown up together. So she's very, very dear to me. Thank you so much, Deepali. Hare Krishna. Hope all of you are well. I'm coming to Mumbai in a couple of weeks. So I'll see you soon.
Will you plan to visit to Hyderabad too?
This time is a bit challenging. There are some challenges Krishna has thrown my way. So I have to deal with them. I will not be able to share here, but some things on the family side I have to take care of. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll see you all on Tuesday.